Yesterday, I told you about the first use, as far as we know, of the I word impeachment about Donald Trump by Democratic Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut. In another first, Democratic Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro, who's a member of the House Intel Committee that's investigating Trump, Russia, and the 2016 election, he said he believes there will be Trump associates going to jail as a result of the investigation. This is another first that we have individual lawmakers talking in these terms, impeachment and jail. Here's Castro with Wolf Blitzer on CNN.
Have you seen any hard evidence of collusion yet?
I guess I would say this, that my impression is I wouldn't be surprised after all of this is said and done that some people end up in jail.
Really? But you think some people are going to wind up in jail, not just one individual, but people, plural. Is that what you're saying?
That's my impression, yes.
Including some who are working in the new administration, or people who worked or advised the president during the campaign and maybe during the transition.
As you can imagine, Wolf, I'll have to comment on that later. But again, if somebody asked me my impression, my impression is that people will probably be charged, and I think people will probably go to jail.
Without sharing the evidence, because I know it's classified, but do you believe there's enough evidence already, evidence that you've seen, that would justify someone going to jail or some people going to jail?
If the claims hold up, most likely.
What the statement from the congressman suggests is that even with all of the obstruction by Devin Nunes, the guy in charge of this House committee looking into the Trump-Russia scandal, that he has personally seen evidence that, if true, would land people in jail. This now corroborates what the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, said a couple of weeks ago, that there is now, quote, more than circumstantial evidence that there was collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. The same week, Democratic House Intelligence Committee member Eric Swalwell told MSNBC, quote, "You can prove a case entirely on circumstantial evidence. However, we also think there is a lot of direct evidence here." Intelligence agencies must know even more than these guys have seen, right?
They certainly would, but honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about these Democratic lawmakers sending this information out. Of course, they're not giving any specifics to the investigation, but it just comes across as if they're playing politics a little bit too much. And because they're supposed to be doing a bipartisan investigation, I think maybe they should just keep some of the stuff under wraps.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. And I think that also the risk of this type of thing is if any of what they start to sort of predict doesn't happen, it looks bad. But Donald Trump must be at least worried to some degree because he's doing everything he can to impede the investigations and distract, trying to get the FBI to denounce New York Times stories about this, throwing smoke bombs like Obama wiretapped me, blocking Sally Yates from testifying before Congress. At this point, things not getting worse is sort of unimaginable because at some point, something's going to happen. I just have a hard time believing this will evaporate, don't you think?
And there's still people out there that say, David, this is not a story. There's nothing behind the Trump-Russia investigation.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be a collusion element that gets proved in the near future.
The problem, though, is that it's the Trump Department of Justice that would eventually be the one to press charges if there are going to be charges. That department is run by Jeff Sessions, who is part of the problem. He is one of the guys who's been lying about meetings with Russian officials. He has said he'd recuse himself from anything related to Trump and Russia that the Justice Department might have to deal with. But do any of us believe that he'd have no influence over the decisions of his Justice Department, even if he was recused himself from those cases?
And if there were impeachment proceedings, that would be done by the House and Senate, which are both operated by Republicans now.
Yeah.
So public support for Donald Trump would have to drop so significantly that even people in the GOP would have to get behind his impeachment.
I hope that the European countries that have talked about having intel on Trump-Russia communications have already been or will start collaborating with American intelligence on this because we need something to move the situation forward. And Devin Nunes is not the path to the truth on Trump-Russia. I'm convinced of that at this point. And you know what? I don't even know about the Senate investigation. I know we're saying the Senate investigation is more objective and fair, but I'm increasingly skeptical of that as well.
It's To go back to the comment that I made before, I don't want to equate what Schiff and what Castro have been saying with what Devin Nunes did, because the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee going and running to the president the subject of the investigation to keep him briefed on the investigation, that's a whole nother world there.
Oh, absolutely. No, there's no comparison. Castro and Schiff may be saying more than they should to the media for political posturing reasons. It's very different than the person running the investigation clearly showing that he's compromised by going and telling the subject of the investigation what it is that they have. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Warby Parker eyeglasses. Warby Parker recently did the right thing and ditched advertising on right-wing conspiracy website Breitbart, pulling their ads off. And you can get the free 5-day home try-on from Warby Parker. Check out their glasses. I use them when I'm not wearing contact lenses. I started with the free at-home trial. They send you 5 pairs of glasses. You see which ones you like. You send them back, and whichever one you pick, they will put your prescription into. I like this because I can actually show the glasses to other people and not have to just decide on the spot like in an eyeglass store. The eyeglass industry is controlled by very few corporations that keep the prices very, very high, even over $300 for prescription glasses. With Warby Parker, they start at just $95. Mine costs that, including lenses. And for every pair sold, they give a pair to someone in need. So to try the 5 pairs and support The David Pakman Show, go to warbyparkertrial.com/TDPS.